The door chimed softly as it opened, but no one behind the counter looked up. The elderly woman stepped inside the luxurious jewelry store, her steps slow, deliberate. She wore a simple beige cardigan over a pale blue dress, scuffed shoes that had seen better years, and her gray hair was tied neatly in a bun. Her eyes, however, those deep, amber eyes, carried the weight of wisdom, history, and a spark that only a few noticed anymore. But not today. Today, no one noticed. "Can someone help me?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. From behind the glittering counters, a young man in an expensive-looking suit looked up from his phone, barely concealing his sigh. "Ma'am," he said, walking over with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes, "we don't carry budget accessories here. Everything in this store is high-end. You may want to check out the shops down the street." The woman raised an eyebrow, glancing at the diamonds and sapphires gleaming beneath the glass. "I'd still like to look around," she said, voice steady. The salesman gave a short laugh. "I'm not sure there's anything here that's appropriate for your price range. These are not charity pieces." The words hung in the air, sharp and humiliating. A couple nearby turned their heads. An awkward silence followed, broken only by the quiet hum of air conditioning and a faint track of classical music playing in the background. The woman didn't respond immediately. She looked around slowly, taking in the familiar displays, the ornate chandelier overhead, the velvet-lined counters that she herself had chosen decades ago. "I see," she finally said, turning toward the exit. "Thank you for your insight." As she walked away, the store manager, a woman in her 40s who had been in the back office, stepped out. Her face turned pale when she saw who had just left. "Was that," she whispered, pushing past the young salesman and rushing to the door. "Mrs. Adler." "Wait." The young man blinked. "Mrs. Adler?" The manager turned, her face a mix of panic and disbelief. "That's Elizabeth Adler. The founder of this store. She owns it. And half the block." The salesman froze. Outside, Elizabeth had just reached her old silver sedan. The manager caught up to her, out of breath and apologizing profusely. Elizabeth smiled, her tone as graceful as ever. "It's all right, Jenna. He just doesn't know me." But that wasn't entirely true. He didn't see her. That night, word spread fast. Employees whispered, called each other, retold the story in shocked murmurs. By morning, the news had reached the regional director. The young salesman, Darren, was summoned for a meeting. Darren had started at the store 6 months ago. He was ambitious, charming on the surface, but arrogant underneath. He believed the measure of a customer was in the car they drove or the clothes they wore. His commission-based mindset had made him one of the top sellers, but his attitude had created tension with co-workers. Now, he sat nervously across from Elizabeth Adler herself, in her sunlit office above the store. "You judged me," she said, her voice calm, hands folded on the table. "Tell me, what was it? My clothes? My age?" Darren swallowed. I didn't know who you were." "That's the point," she replied, leaning forward slightly. "You didn't bother to find out. You assumed. You disrespected." There was a long pause. "I built that store with my late husband from the ground up," she continued. "We mortgaged our house, took out loans, worked weekends for decades. When he passed, I poured everything I had left into it. You see old skin and a worn sweater. I see a life of building something beautiful." Darren looked down. The weight of her words crushed his pride. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. She nodded. "I don't want your apology. I want change. I want you to learn." That afternoon, Darren was given a choice. He wouldn't be fired. Instead, Elizabeth assigned him a new role, assisting with community outreach programs for the store, working directly with seniors, mentoring at-risk youth, helping organize charity auctions. His sales floor privileges were revoked for 3 months. At first, Darren struggled. The work was slow, the people unglamorous. But something changed. He began to listen to stories of war veterans, retired teachers, single mothers who saved for years to buy a necklace to pass on to their daughters. He met a widower who bought a simple ring every anniversary to add to the collection his wife left behind. Each encounter chipped away at his ego and rebuilt something else: empathy. Weeks turned into months. Darren started coming in early, staying late, offering rides to elderly customers, setting up displays that highlighted affordable yet meaningful pieces. The store's reputation began to shift too. Word spread about how Adler's Jewelers treated everyone with dignity. One evening, after closing, Darren stayed behind to polish the glass counters. Elizabeth entered quietly, watching him. "You've changed," she said. He turned, eyes soft. "You gave me the chance to." She smiled. "And now, you'll train the new hires." Years passed. Darren became the store's manager, not because he was the top seller, but because he had become its heart. The boy who once measured worth by appearance now taught others to see the soul behind the smile. And Elizabeth? She remained the quiet force behind it all, occasionally walking through the store, dressed simply, always observing. The new staff knew her story well. Not because she demanded respect, but because she had earned it. The store flourished. Not just as a place of luxury, but of kindness. In a world that often values the sparkle of gold over the glow of character, Elizabeth Adler reminded everyone of one timeless truth. Respect, like the finest jewelry, is never about appearance, it's about value. And real value lies within.